everyone, and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today I'm making a roller skating rink in the fashion district of San Myshuno, and I talked about wanting to make a roller skating rink in the last speed build I made, and in that I mentioned that I was probably going to make it in the arts district in the penthouse lot, and that was going to be more of an industrial style. But as I was about to make it, I was thinking about it, I realized that that's probably not really the best style for a roller skating rink, and also it would have been a lot like the community garden that I made. And I just want to do something different than that, like something that was a little bit more outside of my comfort zone. So I ended up making this more nightclub styled roller skating rink, and the exterior of it is a little bit, it's fairly bright and colorful. So this was definitely a build that was outside of my comfort zone, but I had a lot of fun with it because I definitely am pretty comfortable with a more industrial style for building, but not so much with this more neon light nightclub kind of a style. But I'm still pretty happy with how it turned out, although it did take me a little bit to figure out the shape I wanted for it, because the problem with making a build for an item like the roller skating rink, and I also experienced this with the bowling alley too, is that they're very large items. So whatever build you make tends to be kind of boxy, and I typically don't really like the look of boxy builds. Like I like, just more shapes and just a more interesting look to the build rather than being like a symmetrical box. But yeah, that is of course harder to do with the roller skating rink because it just took up so much of the lot, and this is also the smaller roller skating rink. And then another reason why I decided to make it here in the fashion district is because I wanted to make it something that would also be more useful if you wanted to put into other worlds as well, because it was made specifically for the penthouse lot. Then that's really like the only place you could put. I just wanted something that you could even plop into like Willow Creek or Oasis Springs or just some other world if you wanted. So it being on a 30 by 20 lot also helps with that as well. And I also made use of the glass roof in this build because I'm kind of obsessed with using that in every build right now. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but it's probably going to be like that for a little while. And I didn't want there to be a ton of natural light in this build as well. So I was trying to leave the glass roof as the main source of light in this build, and I was trying to use as few windows as possible elsewhere. So there is some light that comes in from those glass windows, from the large glass windows and glass doors that are in the front of the build. But other than that, there's just some windows that came with, it was those windows that came with Spot 8 that are just have like the thin slats of glass that let a little bit of light in. So it ended up working pretty well because I wanted the inside to be mainly lit by bright neon lights, and it does look kind of cool with some of the light coming in from the glass roof on top of that. So I really like how that ended up looking in the end. And right now I'm figuring out the wall colors, and at first I was trying to go with a black and pink look, so I did use this pink wallpaper that came with Spot 8, which I hardly ever use. Like I rarely use that, but I just thought it would look really cool if you had all black and then some of this pink in the area where it was a little bit set in. And I do in a little bit put in some of the slat dividers that came with City Living to kind of break up the pink a little bit, because it is kind of overwhelming how it is. And then I also ended up going with white because I just realized that the black didn't quite fit into the fashion district, because the fashion district has this kind of bright, colorful, poppy feel to it, and the black just really did not go with that. And the white just went with that so much better. And I also used pink because I wanted a color that felt like it went with the fashion district, and pink to me is just a color that works so well with it because you have those cherry blossom trees all over. And I tried some other colors, which I'm doing here, and I just didn't really like how any of them looked. Yeah, so I was trying to see how it looked if we did like a different color thing, but I don't know, like the build's somewhat tacky in the end, but to me that was maybe just like a little bit too tacky. Like that wasn't exactly the look I was going for with this. And here you can see I put the slats in, so that also helped to break up the pink, so it made it look a little bit less overwhelming. And yeah, in the end, like I was a little worried how it was going to look at first, but in the end, I really like how that came out. And here's those windows I was talking about, because at first I had these ones in, and I just realized it was letting a little too much light in for my liking, because I really like the amount of natural light that is in here at this point. And I also use that wall light from Spa Day as kind of the logo for the place, because as far as I know, there weren't really any roller skating rink decorations that came with seasons. So I thought that, if you stretch it a little bit, like maybe that kind of made sense as a logo for a roller skating rink. Like, I don't know, they're trying to be a little trendy. So instead of just going for like a picture of the whole skate, they're just like going for like a stylized picture of the wheel. So I don't know, if you get creative, it kind of works as a logo. I just ended up I just liked how it looked, so I decided to just use it. And I also added these lit up columns from City Living, which just went so nicely with the pink that's on the walls, and it just really, I think it just made like it helped to break up the black stuff with the windows and kind of tie it into the rest of it. So yeah, well, I was just really worried about how this build was going to turn out in the beginning. I'm just really excited, like really happy with how it turned out. And this is also a build that I kind of made for my Seasons Let's Play, because as I've said in like other videos, they are living in San Myshuno, so I just wanted to add some more Seasons type lots into San Myshuno for them to visit. And they do live in the fashion district, so they can easily just pop on over there every so often. So I probably won't go here in the next part because, or maybe will, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to go there here in the next part, but if not that, then I'll probably go here in the part after that. But either way, like shortly I will be making use of this lot in that series, so really excited about that. And as you can see, I've also put a bunch of lights along the top of the build, like the top of the half holes that I used above the entrance area and above like the main box of the build. And then I also added in these wall lights going all the way up just to add a little bit more light to it, make it look a little bit more interesting, because white is kind of, you know, like a boring color, so I just wanted to dress it up a little bit. And I know it looks kind of weird right now. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, so here's where I just cut a little bit where I went into live mode and changed the colors of them, but here you can see they're mostly pink, but then along the top I did change them to blue because I realized that when I had all the lights being pink, it was just a little overwhelming, like it was too much pink, so the blue just added a nice touch and like kind of broke it up a little bit. And I think this might actually be the first time I made a build where I used a lot of lights like this on the outside of it. I mean, maybe there's another time I did that, but I can't really remember. Like, this isn't something I do often, and like I said before, like it was just really refreshing to work on this build and try something, you know, a little different for myself. And this is a build that I think looks better at night. So in my fly through of it at the end, I actually did a lot of the outdoor shots of it at night because, you know, usually like I end up transitioning to like showing the build at night towards the end of it. But this time I just did that right in the beginning, showed most of the outside at night because it just looks so much better when you can see it all lit up like that. And then a little further along, I do add some other lights, like some street lamp type lights to the outside, and then I ended up making those blue, so it added a little bit of a different light to it. And I'm just really, like, I know I keep saying this, but I'm just really happy with how this build came out. I've just been really excited to share it. I was thinking about adding some fountains to the outside of the build, but I thought that might be a little bit too busy because we kind of got a lot going on with the bright lights and all of that, so I thought adding fountains to it might be too much. And I incorporated some of those cherry blossom trees into it that we see a lot throughout the fashion district. And I just want to mention that if you do download this lot, it is best to turn the move objects cheat on, which is bb.moveobjects, because otherwise there's a good chance that a whole bunch of items will be missing when you put it down, and that's just really frustrating to have to go in and replace a bunch of things. But if you do turn that cheat on, then you shouldn't have that problem. So it's just kind of best to go into build mode and place it from there with the cheat on. Because this is something that applies to like pretty much every build, but I just keep forgetting to mention that. And then I was reminded of it when I placed a slot into a different save file and did it from the map view without turning that cheat on, because I went in, I had to like replace a whole bunch of lights and of those slat items and plants and everything, and it was super frustrating. Yeah, so that's just something important to keep in mind. And we are getting pretty close to being done with the landscaping of the lot. I mean, there isn't really much to it. It's just kind of a bunch of plants in this area here in front of it. And I was trying to use like some plasticky, you know, like kind of plasticky plants because I felt like that went with the vibe of this build. And there wasn't really a whole lot of space to do anything else fancy. Like I just tried putting some different colored tiles in here and there to make it look a little bit more interesting and, you know, kind of break up just like the plain concrete. And here I'm just trying to figure out some kind of decorative plant to go near the doors. So yeah, exciting stuff. This was a spot where I imagined like maybe a fountain could go, but as I said before, I realized that maybe wouldn't really look the best for this build, but there's not really a ton more to the landscaping of this build. I just left kind of a lot of concrete by itself. Here are those street lamps that I was talking about, and then around the sides I just stuck some couches in that Sims can just sit at if they want to go outside and get a little bit of privacy. And oh yeah, I also thought it would look really neat if I took some of the spotlights and then made them pink and blue just so you would have some colors cast upward onto the roof. So that was something that made it look a little bit more interesting there, because on the, the parts on the side of the roof, you could see the colors going up it a little bit. Like, you'll see it when we get to the fly-through, but that was definitely something that added a nice touch to the build. And here are those couches that I was talking about. And also added these plants into the back here. Yeah, because this was another spot where I was thinking maybe you could add a fountain, but that wouldn't really have worked either, because then it would have been part of the way through the slats, and I wanted to keep the slats. And I also went into, I also put in the debug cheat, which was bb.show hidden objects, and got these items from City Living that you typically see around the world, and just put them in to make it look a little bit more exciting in the front of it, because I just wanted there to be a little bit more going on. And I believe that is about it for the outside of the build. So now we're moving on to the inside, and I furnished this build really quickly. I think only about 6 minutes of the footage is furnishing. And I really like how it turned out. It's mostly pretty dark around the interior. I didn't add a lot of decorations. It's mostly lights that serves the decoration, because as you'll see shortly, I put in a whole bunch of wall lights, and I ended up changing them to the same blue and pink that I used on the outside to continue that theme, and it just looks really neat. I just had so much fun with furnishing this build. I was hoping that when you actually had your Sims go to this bar, that a bunch of other Sims would get onto the roller skating rink, but unfortunately they tend to avoid it. And I did set this slot as a bar, because I just figured that was kind of the thing that made the most sense. And I'm not sure if maybe there's some other kind of lot type you could set it to that would make Sims more likely to make use of it. Because I know with the bowling alley, I think if you set it to a bar and maybe something else, they would actually use a roller skating rink. And then not the roller, we're talking about bowling alleys. So yeah, if you set it to a bar and maybe one other thing, they would actually use the bowling alley. But if you set it to anything else, they would tend to avoid it. So I'm not sure if it's that kind of a deal here, and I just ended up missing whatever it was that would actually make them use it. But I was a little bit disappointed that they would just kind of stay to the side and not go on at all unless I did the whole invite to skate interaction. Because that was how I ended up actually getting other Sims onto the rink when I was trying to record footage for the fly-through. And other than the roller skating rink in here, off to one side there's of course a bar, and on the other side I made an arcade area. So we just have the arcade machines that came with Get Together, and I also added in the Don't Wake the Llama table. Originally I was going to have that be kind of like a seating area with some tables and chairs, but that didn't really make a ton of sense to me for a roller skating rink, because from what I remember, because it's been a while since I've been to a roller skating rink, usually you'll have benches, and then maybe there's some tables and chairs over near the food area, but usually it's right there, not on the other side. So it just didn't really look quite right to have all those tables and chairs over there on the other side. And I figured it'd just be a better use to make an arcade area. And originally I was gonna have tables and chairs there, and then the basement was gonna be the same size as the upper level, and I was gonna have an arcade area down there and a DJ booth and some other stuff. But I ended up making the basement smaller because I didn't really want to cram a bunch of different stuff into this build. I didn't want to make it try to be too many different things. I want to just mainly focus on it being a roller skating rink and kind of having the things you would typically find in a roller skating rink, although it is pretty small. And as far as I know, I don't think there's many roller skating rinks that have a nightclub in the basement. I mean, maybe that exists, but it's not really anything I've heard of. But a majority of the roller skating rinks I've been to have had arcade machines in them. And I think there probably are combo roller skating rinks and bowling alleys, but I mean, obviously I'm probably not really going to be able to fit a bowling alley in here, although I guess I could have done that in the basement, but no, I don't know. I didn't really want to make this a combo of the two things. The only thing I really have in the basement is just the bathrooms and some of those gaming motion rigs, which probably doesn't really make a ton of sense to stick that down there, but I just wanted something down there other than just seats, because having more places to sit isn't really super interesting. So I just want to add another kind of activity down there, but not something that took up a ton of space. And yeah, I ended up having to put a basement in because I made the whole build, and then I just realized that there was nowhere to put the bathrooms. I mean, I could have put them over here, but I prefer to have that be an arcade area rather than just some boring old bathroom. So yeah, just stuck in a sneaky basement, basement that they kind of get to from the back to put the bathrooms in. And it actually worked pretty well. So this is the bar area. There's not really a ton going on here. So with this build, I was just kind of simple with the decorations because, like I said, I didn't see this being the kind of lot that would just have a whole bunch of things everywhere, and I just like the more minimal look for this place. So that's already done, and we're on to the basement. So there's not really a ton more to this build, because like I said, we just have the bathrooms down here. We have some of those giving motion rigs, and that's really about it. And the basement does, of course, follow the same color and lighting scheme that was there upstairs. So I'm just adding a bunch more of those strip lights in here. And I don't really have much more to say about this build, so I'm going to go ahead and end the commentary a little early. So as usual, if you want to download this, there will be a link to do so in the description and other stuff in there on how to find it in-game. And that's going to be all for me, so I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video.